Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be taking a first look at Gold Mythic Lucky Wayland, who is going to be an Ultra Token War character coming to RTS. Now visually we have had a Wayland in the game before in the Mythic era. He was very early on and he was actually a kind of cool character, honestly. This character looks visually pretty impressive, I'm going to be honest. Bit more to his roots when it comes to the fact that he was a blacksmith. I think the original character did have some massive blacksmith hammer, but this has got a kind of, a little hammer as well. If we look at the rest of the get-up, very much like previous, versions of Wayland. Chainmail on, he's got a kilt, and he's got the protective mask, which you would wear if you're like doing soldering or something that's got a really bright light when you don't want to go blind. He's got very nice green armor. You don't see his face. I'm guessing when you have the one version of the character, he's going to have like just normal gear on, but on the left hand side we can see in a bit more detail. He's absolutely going into for clobbering time on some walkers for sure. If we look at his stats, at level 1440 limit break 3, he has got 11,410 attack, 32,476 defense, and 43,887 HP. He is going to be a fast character of the tank role, Gold Mythic of course, and he's going to be a member of the Savior's Allegiance. Now first off we're going to look at his adrenaline rush, and it is called Tricks of the Trade. It has got a recharge rate of 66 AP. This fighter recovers from all penalties, impair 5 enemies for 2 turns, deal 50% of this fighter's max HP as damage to an enemy. So obviously the cleanse comes in first. This is all penalties, not just debilitating. Things like burn, bleed, and infection, that all those good things are going to be removed, but also debilitating as well. Obviously if he has certain debilitating, he's not actually going to be able to do his adrenaline rush, so those are the resists you're going to primarily want to look to have on him. Maybe impair resist and stun resist, just so that he can actually have a good chance of getting this off, and then maybe have someone in the team giving him focus. The next one, impairing 5 enemies for 2 turns, is obviously in crazy levels of control. 66 AP cost rush. He has got very defensive kit, but he doesn't look like necessarily a for all-out defense team character when it comes to other parts of his kit, which you can see like the specialist skills, so on and so forth. But that is heavy amounts of impair. No matter what team he's going to be on, attack or defense, he's going to be locking down, honestly, entire defense or attack team for 2 turns. No rushes, and rushes where a lot of the power is a lot of the time. The last part, deal 50% of this fighter's max HP as damage to an enemy. His HP is nice and high, so generally speaking, he should do around about 30 to 40k base off of this. On an attack team, if you boost his HP up with weapons and so on and so forth, you could get up to like 40 to 50k. If he's on a defense team with a HP leader, obviously that's going to scale up massively as well. So we can actually, of course, use Wayland on an attack team to show how this works. It isn't just going to work on a defense team. We are going to do 50% of his max HP in damage to an enemy. On an attack team, it's going to be hard to scale his HP up nice and high, but on a defense, it won't be any problem. This is just with a Clementine leader and his base weapon. You can improve his HP on the weapon. You can have a new weapon in his hands. You can have combat mods on him. Getting over 100,000 shouldn't be too much of a problem. So you should be dishing out 50k plus on this hit to attack team characters when he's on a defense team, and that is generally speaking going to take out characters. It's pretty much as simple as that. In this case it may not. I'll select the character with the lowest HP just to take them out. As you can see, we're going to do 44.5k damage, which is, 50% of his max HP. Now all the other members of this team did get impaired. We did have 1 resist. Obviously resist can come in, and that's just kind of how it works. But 2-turn impair for the remaining alive enemies, and it is up to 5 as well. So if you don't even take out the enemy that you are using against, for instance, on a defense team it uses against someone with a guardian shield or something, it will generally still, do impair to the entire team. The full cleanse came in first. I didn't have any control on this character, but if I had, burn, bleed, infection, all that good stuff, it would have been fully removed, and there would no longer be a problem. And that happens every single time that Wayland does his adrenaline rush. Now, if we check out the upgrades on his Adrenaline Rush, you can see at grade 3 it gets an upgrade where this fighter recovers from all penalties. That would only require 1 copy, so that's not too bad. At grade 5, which is of course 2 copies, he'll get plus 25% damage on that actual hit. So it will be going from deal 25% of this fighter's max HP as damage to an enemy up to 50% of this fighter's max HP as damage to an enemy. Then at limit break 2, it gets plus 2 impair targets. So initially it is going to be impair 3 enemies for 2 turns, which alone, that alone is very powerful. Up to 5 enemies for 2 turns, which is kind of crazy levels of power if I'm honest. Now he is a command, so you would assume he's less likely to rush as quickly just because when a character commands, they aren't going to be gaining AP. But I will say there are other parts of Lucky Wayland's kit where that's not going to be as much of a problem, so he should be doing his Adrenaline Rush kind of in line with other characters in the attack teams. And of course you could, if you really wanted to, pair him up with someone who was another command. Double command and commanding a command. Very interesting. But on a defense team, when this goes off, like I say, Adrenaline Rush is going to be locked down. And the biggest problem there is attack teams generally have their power in their Adrenaline Rushes, whereas defense teams a lot of the time have a lot of their power in their signature moves. That's just kind of how it generally goes. But obviously, regardless, even if you would impair a defense team, it's still decent because Adrenaline Rushes are still powerful for a lot of characters. So like I say, very problematic rush, very, very powerful when it comes to control. Now next up, we're going to be checking out the signature move, and it is called Reflective Gear, and it has got an initial cooldown of turn 1, cooldown of 2 turns, number of uses unlimited. A random teammate gets 100% AP and 100% counter damage reduction for 2 turns. With equal odds, either 2 other teammates get 100% counter reduction for 2 turns, or all other teammates get camouflage for 2 turns instead. So a bit to break down here. The first part where a random teammate gets 100% AP and 100% counter damage reduction for 2 turns should most likely be controllable based on who has the most AP. So if you had everybody with no AP gain at all and then one character had a 20% AP gain weapon, the AP should always go to that character. So while it says random, if everyone has equal amounts of AP, it will be random. But if someone has slightly higher AP than the rest, it will always go to that character because that's how AP gain generally works. I will test that part. Now, when it comes to the counter damage reduction here, it will always go to the character who gains that AP too. So again, controllable in a certain way. And that way, potentially, you could have it go to the same character at the beginning of every turn. And based on what the other buff is how you decide what to do. Okay, to test this out, I have got Lily with a 20% AP weapon to self. And when I do the signature move of Lucky Wayland, it should give her the 100% AP because she has got the highest AP as it stands. I'll use the signature move, and that is exactly what's going to happen. The other teammates got the 100% counter damage reduction, but it wouldn't have made too much of a difference in this case because the way it's worded is Wayland wouldn't actually get the camouflage. He'd be the only one not to get the camouflage, which is a bit strange, honestly. You'd want the entire team to get the camouflage. You don't want to sacrifice one character to counter damage. But that is potentially what would happen if I did the Adrenaline Rush of Lily against a team with a payback in it. So just to show you that in action, I would use the signature move again. Again, it's going to go to the character with the highest AP. You can see the characters have got camouflage except for Wayland. And then if I was to attack this character, Wayland potentially is going to take the counter damage as you saw just there. And that is a problem in my opinion. So when it comes to this signature move, I mainly see this as the 100% AP being actually the big draw. The other part of it doesn't really do enough to cover all bases, you know. It would have been better for just all teammates got camouflage for 1 turn, let alone 2 turns, just 1 turn for that nuke, rather than all other teammates getting camouflage. I don't know, it's just a strange situation there. If we look at the upgrades, you can see at grade 2, it gets a 50% counter damage reduction plus 1 camouflage duration, and that is going to increase from exactly the same 50% counter damage reduction plus 1 turn camouflage up to 100% counter damage reduction plus 2 turns of camouflage. At grade 4, it gets an upgrade where a random teammate gets 50% AP and 100% counter damage reduction for 2 turns. And then at Limit Break 1, that upgrade at grade 4 gets increased from 50% AP up to 100% AP. And like I said, that's honestly the biggest draw, is just being able to dictate to a certain extent who's going to get that AP. As long as they have the highest base AP at the start of the fight, or when this is actually done, then they are always going to get that AP boost, no matter who they are. So if they're getting an AP boost from the weapon, specialist skill, or any part of their kit, just pushing them ahead of everybody else, they're guaranteed to get every single time. Then at Limit Break 3, we get the kind of standard -1 to starting cooldown, although we have seen -1 starting cooldown in different areas before. This is quite important as well, but maybe not necessarily as important as it could be, because he is a command. Potentially he could just command someone turn 1. It really depends on the rest of the team setup, how much you want to try and utilize the counter damage and camouflage potential in the rest of the kit there. It's completely up to you how you want to do this, but I would say obviously starting cooldown turn 1 is generally just giving you a good option. Options are always the best way to go. It doesn't necessarily have to use it turn 1, but at least you have the choice if you do or don't want to. So yeah, like I say, powerful on defense, going to be a bit of a wild card RNG fest, but on attack you get to dictate how and when you're going to use it. So of course, Wayland is going to be an Ultra Token Wheel character, so we're going to be giving away some Ultra Tokens, 10,000 Ultra Tokens to 1 lucky winner. And all you have to do is hit the like button and make a comment down below. It's pretty much as simple as that. Tell me what you think about Wayland's kit, his visuals, anything when it comes to a new Wayland in the game. It's as simple as that to enter the giveaway. I'll be doing a draw in a future live stream in around about 10 days time, so stay tuned for that. Best of luck if you enter. Now back to the video. Now here we do have Lucky Wayland's mythic abilities. These are his passive skills. Now first up, he is a tank, so he will have strength where he has 40% critical hit resistance. Next up, he has Forge Commander, where he'll have 100% normalized resistance, which means he'll be able to do that specialist skill whenever he wants, which is very problematic, honestly. Sometimes I do have like my Akira get normalized and it is annoying, but not the case here. The next one is Get Going. When performing the defend action, this fighter and 1 other teammate get focus, camouflage, and elusive for 2 turns and get 60% AP. This is going to happen even if someone somehow does bypass that normalized resistance, because it's the defend action, and that means he can gain more AP, generally speaking, from doing a defend than he would do from doing his signature move or a basic attack, just for him, but then he'll be giving it to a teammate as well. Again, the AP in this situation would go to the teammate with the highest AP. Again, you can dictate that. This will work a lot like Laura, where you can use it on a character where you use their turn, they have the highest AP now, you command them to give them more AP, and then they can do their adrenaline rush. It is worth noting that Lucky Wayland does get camouflage in this situation. Generally speaking, turn 2, after doing the signature move turn 1, turn 2 he could do this, and then it'll be a full team camouflage. That 100% AP off of turn 1 would have to be used on very particular characters. Maybe someone who's heavy control, just to get some early control in. Then turn 2, you command a nuker. That could be the way to do it. Now the last passive is called Faster Business, and it is all fast teammates get 7.5% attack for each fast a teammate. So it looks like Lucky Wayland's going to be geared for more of a fast attack team, and if you did have a full team of fast characters, there would be a 37.5% attack boost for having 5 fast characters. So to a certain extent, it's almost like he's got a fast attacks weapon in his hands 24/7, but it will only apply to fast characters, not the entire team. And it should be off of base, so it will work off of base stats. Then attack buffs can come in afterwards, so the stack is going to be potentially very, very high indeed. If you just think about like Andre on defense, the way he gives tough characters defense rating, this works exactly the same, where Wayland's going to give fast characters attack rating. It's simple as that. Okay, so here we are on turn 1, and as you know, the way commands work is they give someone a second turn, and Lucky Wayland works exactly the same as Laura, where the person with the highest AP also will get an AP boost, and generally speaking, it could be the person you command. So for instance, I could do a basic attack with Job. He's got the highest AP. I use the command action. He gets a second turn and 60% AP. Now he is free to Adrenaline Rush if I was to choose to do so. Generally speaking, you would want to do that because you just commanded him, and now he's going to lose his next turn. He effectively gets his next turn a turn early, which is a very, very beneficial thing to do a lot of the time. However, because it's not linked to the specialist skill, quite like Laura, you can obviously use the defend action at the beginning of the fight before someone takes any turn. The AP will go to the character with the highest AP. Again, this will be Job. And obviously, Lucky Wayland will get the AP to himself as well. This happens regardless of whether he's commanding someone or not. It's just about the defend action. Now, if I do a basic attack with Job, he'll have a natural turn 2 rush. And what I can do is I can try and line that up with someone like Lily and give her the 100% AP from the signature move of Wayland. Because she's got the highest AP now, I can do the signature move, and she is going to get that, as you can see, which is obviously very nice indeed. A big bonus is here, of course, that we have got counter damage reduction on a lot of teammates, plus Wayland does have that camouflage. So now, when I select the payback character and I Adrenaline Rush them, Wayland will have no chance of taking reflect damage. As you can see, the marker popped up for the camouflage. And as you might have seen, Lucky Wayland did get a natural turn 3 rush because obviously he will gain AP from doing his signature move as well. The AP comes in after the 100% AP does, but it might be a bit fiddly to do what I just did on the screen because we had to get Lily's AP higher than Wayland's off base, so it would generally have to be another character with some, 20% weapon as well, just so that 20% weapon plus a signature move would put them ahead on turn 2. If you know how the AP manipulation works, you know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, Wayland will just have too high AP and he'll give himself the AP from his own signature move. It'll take a little bit of testing, a little bit of fiddling, but once you get used to it, it didn't take me too long, a couple of attacks, and I kind of understood how it worked. Now, if we look at the upgrades here on the passives, you can see at grade 1, the first half of Forge Commander comes in, where it's going to be 50% normalizer resistance. At grade 2, it's going to be the first half of Strength, where it's going to be 20% critical hit resistance. At grade 3, it's going to be the second half of Forge Commander, being another 50% normalizer resistance. This is going to go up to 100% normalizer resistance, which is a nice little bonus. At grade 4, we're going to get the first half of Get Going. When performing the defend action, this fighter plus one other teammate get Focus, Camouflage, and Elusive for 2 turns, and get 20% AP. At grade 5, it is going to be first half of Faster Business. All fast teammates get 3.75% attack for each fast teammate. Obviously, Wayland is always going to get that boost, but he doesn't really rely too much on attack, as we saw so far in his kit. Now, at Limit Break 1, the second half of Strength comes in, making it 40% critical hit resistance total. At Limit Break 2, Get Going 2 comes in. When performing the defend action, this fighter and one other teammate get Focus, Camouflage, and Elusive for 2 turns, and get a further 40% AP, making it 60% AP total, as you saw. And you can use that whenever you want, like I showed. You can use that to command someone specifically, or at the beginning of the fight just to give AP out and not waste anybody's turn, and then try and get that synchronization up for turn 2. It can work. And then at LB3, we get Faster Business 2. All fast teammates get a further 3.75% attack for each fast teammate, making it 7.5% total. For each fast teammate on the team, fast characters will get a boost. So you could potentially see this as a revitalization for some fast characters. Someone like Sophia, for instance, could get a nice boost off of this because her base attack effectively would be boosted up, bringing her up a bit more. And she could be giving out camouflage and stuff as well, obviously. So there definitely could be some potential team-ups here with Lucky Wayland. I like his passives. They obviously are quite nice when it comes to AP game manipulation that you've got on the potential attack team. With Lucky Wayland, there are obviously some nice specialists out there. I think you have Brawler Sandy, who has AP gain on her specialist skill. So the team up between Wayland and Brawler Sandy, again, could be pretty good as well. Now, I showed this specialist skill a little bit. We talked about it quite a bit. I'm just going to touch on it. It is going to be specialist command. Wayland is the first fast command in the Mythic era, just to note. And generally speaking, fast commands are always deemed to be the best commands just because they could have AP gain in their kits based on their weapon. But Wayland's got crazy amounts of AP gain on his kit, so it really wouldn't have mattered too much what trait he was, to be honest. But he could hold an 8% weapon as well, and you could have a lot of characters rushing nice and early. But I'll read over it. When this fighter defends, the previous ally to take an action this turn will receive a bonus action. That ally will be unable to act the next turn. Now, obviously, like I showed, if you did his defend action before anyone took their turn, it wouldn't do this, but it would still give the AP gain from his passive, so it would work fine there. Now, when we look at Lucky Wayland's weapon, it is an extremely defense team oriented weapon. It is Lucky Wayland's guarding forging tool. It has got 45% HP, 40% defense, improved elusive impair. When being attacked, a 60% chance to impair the enemy and get elusive for 3 turns. And then the last slot, it has improved stonewall. This fighter gets 50% defense at the start of each wave for 2 turns. This fighter's defense cannot be reduced. I would primarily see this as the defense team weapon. When you put him on a defense team, he's going to be much harder to take out because he can't be defense downed. He's going to impair characters if he's attacked. It's not too bad at all, and his stats can get out really high. You can get him up to 55% defense, 45% HP, 55% HP, 45% defense, or like 50-50. Very high stats for sure. And if you wanted on an attack team, you could put more of a support-based weapon in his hands, which has like 8%, or maybe fast healing, just, you know, something that's going to be a bit more team-oriented for an attack team. On a defense team, this works especially well, but again, you could have another weapon in your mind for him on a defense team for sure. So that is going to be Lucky Wayland, and like I said, he is going to be coming to the game as an Ultra Token Will recruit, and he does look especially interesting for an attack team. You'll have to get used to how his signature move and passives and stuff will work when it comes to the camouflage and stuff like that, because he doesn't give it to himself in certain situations. Some other teammates in the team giving camouflage and or giving counter damage reduction will be very beneficial, just so you don't have to worry about that part, and you can just blitz rather than having to wait to see what buffs you've got and what debuffs you haven't got and so on and so forth. You can just blitz through teams. If you've got Maggie lead, he'll work in the same team, but he'll continuously just add those counter damage reductions onto the buffs that they already have as they go down to like 1 turn on turn 2, so on and so forth. So like I say, I think he's the first character to come into game to be able to apply that buff throughout the fight. So it's just nice if you get further into the fight, if they have got like 1 payback character left and you maybe have like 3 characters on your attack team left, you know that Wayland can apply counter damage reduction to somebody and camouflage to other people. You know, just basically, you know you're not going to nuke yourself in that situation. You can survive being able to take out command with a rush, so slightly speeding things up. So yeah, I think Wayland is a very nice character. Generally, his AP game manipulation characters are a lot of fun. It's something that RTS has that a lot of other games don't, and they don't really utilize that AP game mechanic, especially for attack teams where it's very, very interesting because you have it in your hands. You can, you know, command characters in certain ways. It was just pretty much Laura for a long time. That was pretty much it. Or cheesing like a low-level character with a certain specialist skill. But yeah, that's it for my preview of this character, guys. Best of luck if you enter the giveaway. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.